You're listening to Healthy House Calls with Angel, where today we're going beyond the cholesterol panel, giving you everything you need to know to build a healthier heart and sharper brain with functional medicine. We're getting you fit and functional for life. Hello, welcome to Healthy House Calls with Angel. I am your host, Angel Shannon, giving you tips, tools, and holistic strategies to live a healthier life by intentional design. Join me as we explore the landscape of lifestyle medicine, offering practical tips that help you eat, sleep, move, and live better, and help you become fit and functional for life. Thank you for tuning in. Enjoy the show. Hello. Welcome to Season 2 of Healthy House Calls with Angel, and welcome to the Fit and Functional for Life community. I'm Angel Shannon, your host, and I want to welcome you to a community that believes that good health is so much more than just a normal physical and the weight on a scale. Good health is also the sense of harmony, balance, peace, purpose, and fulfillment we feel in our lives. Now, if you're tuning in again to get more tips, tools, and strategies that help you live longer and live better with lifestyle medicine, welcome back. But if you're brand new to our community, here's what I'd like you to know. We are a community that believes first and foremost that good health is the first wealth. And because of that, we declare our physical, mental, and spiritual well-being to be our single most important priority. We value knowledge, wisdom, and most importantly, personal transformation. We take our health into our own hands by being informed and empowered, taking action and holding ourselves accountable. We are busting the burnout. Let me say that again. We are busting the burnout. We prioritize rest, movement, mindfulness, optimal nutrition, spiritual growth, and meaningful work that aligns with our life's purpose. In a nutshell, we are a community that desires to be fit and functional, not just for a day, not just for an event, but fit and functional for life. So by now, you've seen it everywhere. You've seen heart disease awareness, heart health awareness, cardiovascular disease awareness. So first and foremost, what are we talking about when we say the words heart health or heart health awareness? Why is your nurse practitioner or doctor giving you a lab order every single year to get your cholesterol checked? When you get those lab values back, what do they actually mean? What does it mean to have a normal LDL or a normal HDL? What does it mean to be on the borderline? What does it mean when you're told everything is fine? Is there anything else you should be thinking about when those numbers are actually fine? That's what this episode is about, because I want to move you past the line of fine. I want to move you into the space of optimization and really understanding what this panel actually means. So let's answer that first. What we're really talking about is cardiovascular health. We're talking about the heart and all of the vessels that the heart is connected to, the veins, arteries, capillaries that carry oxygen-rich blood to our different organs. So I want to give you an analogy here. Imagine that you live in my hometown in New York City, and the city is the hub of everything, right? So just imagine living in New York City. What surrounds the city itself? Roads and highways, bridges, tunnels, right? Getting in and out of the city demands that you have clear, functional, paved roads that lead in and out, right? That's the same with cardiovascular health. When we're talking about the heart, we're talking about all of the vessels that the heart uses to pump blood around the body, to nourish the tissues and the cells that keep us alive. Right off the bat, you can kind of see that heart health awareness is a bit of a misnomer because the heart, the veins, the arteries, they're all interconnected, and they are what feed our brain. They feed our liver, they feed our kidneys, and every single organ, tissue, and cell in the body. In fact, what we should be calling February is Cardiovascular Disease Awareness Month or Whole Body Health Month. That's what we really should be calling it, is Whole Body Health Awareness Month, to be quite honest, because without the heart and those blood vessels doing its work, without all of those blood vessels doing their work to get blood to our tissues and organs and our cells, we wouldn't be alive at all. So that brings me to this lab order, the cholesterol panel, and why you're getting that panel in the first place. You're getting that lab order because your healthcare provider wants to have a look at your risk for cardiovascular disease beyond just your heart. Cardiovascular disease refers to a group of conditions that includes coronary artery disease, which refers to disease in the arteries inside your heart. It includes hypertension or high blood pressure. That involves the arteries that lead into and out of your heart. Cerebrovascular disease or stroke. That involves the arteries and veins that lead into your brain. Cardiovascular disease also includes heart failure, failure of the heart in its pumping mechanisms, cardiomyopathies, and peripheral vascular disease. All of those veins and arteries in your arms and legs, that's peripheral vascular disease. All of these conditions together make up what we call overall cardiovascular disease. And what all of these conditions have in common as a precursor, as a beginning point, is inflammation, a chronic inflammatory condition called atherosclerosis. I'm going to repeat that again, atherosclerosis. And that's what your cholesterol panel, that your nurse practitioner or healthcare provider, that's what that panel is looking for. So what is atherosclerosis? Atherosclerosis is defined as a thickening or hardening of the arteries that's caused by buildup of plaque in the innermost lining of an artery, any artery anywhere in the body. So let's talk about what arteries are for and what they look like. Arteries are like water hoses. So I'm going to use another analogy here, like water hoses. Arteries are strong muscular tubes that are lined by something called smooth tissue. And every artery has 3 layers. Now, I'm going to tell you the names of this, and this is important to know so that you understand what's happening here. The 3 layers are the tunica intima, that's the innermost layer that's lined by a smooth tissue called endothelium. There's a middle layer called the tunica media, and that's a layer of strong, smooth muscle that lets arteries handle that high pressure of blood flow that's coming from the heart. And lastly, there is the tunica externa or adventitia, which is the outermost or 3rd layer. And it's actually connective tissue that anchors arteries to nearby tissues and organs. So every artery, as I said, has got 3 layers. And out of these 3 layers, you can imagine that the innermost layer, the layer that is inside, called the endothelial lining, is the most important layer. And let me tell you why that is. The endothelium, endo meaning inside, wall, is responsible for lots and lots of important functions. Number 1, it helps to regulate the tone of the vessels. So the tone of the arteries is regulated by way of the endothelium. It's responsible for something we call vasodilation and vasoconstriction, which means opening wide and then getting narrow and closing. Opening and closing. Vasodilation and vasoconstriction. The endothelium, or that innermost layer, makes these really, really important chemicals that regulate how and when your body makes a clot and how and when your body breaks down a clot. And these 2 processes are called thrombosis and thrombolysis. Okay, the chemicals that the endothelium makes are thromboxanes, prostacyclin, endothelin, bradykinin, and one that is really, really important that I want you to remember. In fact, grab your pen and paper and write this down. It's called nitrous oxide. The endothelium is so amazing that it can actually make other brand new vessels. Remember a minute ago when I mentioned nitric oxide that's produced by the endothelium? Listen to this. Nitric oxide inhibits, it stops platelet aggregation. That means it keeps clots from forming. And nitric oxide actually repairs dysfunctional endothelium. So nitric oxide is like the state highway workers that you see on the road with their cones all laid out, blocking the entire left lane on the highway to fix that giant pothole in the road. That's just one role of nitric oxide. This chemical that is made by the innermost layer of your arteries called the endothelial layer. So imagine that you have a water hose and the innermost layer of the water hose becomes damaged in some way, maybe because of the high pressure of the water or buildup of mineral deposits, buildup of something inside the hose, whatever the problem may be. Maybe the hose itself is starting to get weaker, less pliable. Maybe that buildup or damage to the inner lining makes the hose stiff and, like I said, less pliable, or the diameter or lumen of it gets smaller. Whatever the case may be, the water isn't going to flow as it should. And over time, the whole hose itself will degrade. That's what atherosclerosis is. Atherosclerosis occurs when the inner lining of the endothelium of that tube or artery becomes thickened or hardened. And when that thickening or hardening occurs, the diameter of the artery gets smaller and smaller, which means it becomes more difficult for blood to flow through the artery to whatever tissue or organ it's responsible for feeding. So let's use my hometown of New York City again. Let's use that analogy again. Imagine that you have 4 highways that lead into New York City. And because of an accident on one highway and a bridge collapse on another highway, that only leaves 2 major highways open for all of the traffic leading into and out of New York City. Can you imagine what a disruption that is? Can you imagine how long it's going to take to get into New York City? And imagine what happens when all of this traffic has to get diverted to the other 2 highways that may be smaller in capacity. Maybe they're not 6-lane highways. Maybe they're only 2-lane highways. That's an analogy for what atherosclerosis looks like in your body. Ultimately, atherosclerosis is dysfunction of the endothelial lining. So, Angel, give it to me straight. How bad is this atherosclerosis? How bad is it? Answer, pretty bad. Atherosclerosis can lead to complete blockage of any artery, anywhere, anytime. So it can cause a heart attack in the arteries of the heart, a stroke in the arteries leading to the brain. It can cause poor blood flow in any artery, anywhere, poor blood flow in the arteries of the legs, the arms, the extremities, and men, listen up. Atherosclerosis can contribute to or flat out cause erectile dysfunction. Because remember, an erection is dependent upon adequate blood flow through the main arteries of the penis. The most common cause of erectile dysfunction is vascular issues. That's why the first line therapy, medication-wise, is usually those phosphodiesterase 5 inhibitors. Viagra, Levitra, Cialis. They work by increasing a substance, cyclic guanosine monophosphate, GMP levels, which in turn increases nitric oxide-induced vasodilation. So, Angel, what causes this atherosclerosis in the first place? How does it even get started? Well, as I said in the beginning, atherosclerosis is a chronic inflammatory disorder that much of the clinical research indicates may even begin in childhood and progress to full-blown cardiovascular disease later in life. This is why I am so passionate about March and National Nutrition Month, February and Heart Health Awareness Month, because this is an opportunity to make this a family affair and to make nutrition like a central focus in your life and in your children's life at an early age. Risk factors for atherosclerosis include high cholesterol and triglyceride levels. That's why we're going to take that deep dive into the lipid panel in part 2. Risk factors also include high shearing forces. So that means high pressure, high blood pressure, pressing against that endothelial lining, smoking, diabetes, free fatty acids, metabolic syndrome, insulin dysfunction and insulin resistance, obesity, lack of physical exercise or physical activity, and a diet high in saturated fats. What do these things have in common? All of these are drivers of oxidative stress. They're drivers of something called free radical production, which if you've not listened to my episode on free radical production and free radicals and antioxidants, now's a good time to bookmark that episode as well and tune into what I offered in that episode too, because it all ties in together. So all of these are drivers of oxidative stress, which is a driver of free radical production. And guess what free radical production does? It disrupts the balance of nitric oxide. And that disruption in nitric oxide production is what triggers damage to the endothelial lining that we talked about. That is huge. That is huge. All of these things make up endothelial dysfunction, which sets up that endothelium for a prothrombotic state, which means a state in which clot formation and blockage of that artery can occur anywhere, anytime, any place. Nitric oxide is something you need to remember. Endothelial dysfunction is something that you need to remember. Folks, it goes beyond just heart health. It goes to brain health. It goes to every single organ and tissue and cell in your body. It is whole body health awareness. All because of something called nitric oxide. All because of something called an endothelium. All because of something called inflammation, and all because of something called atherosclerosis. So let's tie this together. Let's close out this episode with understanding what's happening and why your healthcare provider or your cardiologist or your nurse practitioner, why are they so concerned about your cholesterol panel? So any change in this endothelial lining, when any change in the endothelial lining occurs, vasoconstriction and vasodilation are impaired. So that ability to open and close are impaired. And that's caused by what I said, that decreased nitric oxide, which then creates that prothrombotic, pro-inflammatory state. What's happening? What's happening is your immune system gets switched on. And these chemicals called pro-inflammatory cytokines get released, which causes damage, a lot of damage. And it's this damage that attracts cells called monocytes. And those cells, those monocytes, attract more pro-inflammatory cytokines, which ultimately then recruit a bigger cell, a white blood cell called a macrophage. It's a white blood cell. And those cells, those macrophages, begin a process called phagocytosis. That means they start eating anything that they see. Okay? This is your immune system being turned on here. And one of the things they really like to eat, the biggest thing they eat, is called LDL. That's in that cholesterol panel that we're going to talk about. They start engulfing and eating LDL like crazy, which they eat so much of that LDL that they actually become something different. They turn into something called a foam cell. This is a huge cell. They actually eat themselves to death. And when you have a collection of these foam cells, it becomes a fatty streak in the lining of that artery. And the accumulation of these fatty streaks is what turns into a plaque. The more plaque formation, the more turbulent blood flow, the more sedentary blood flow or reduced blood flow, the worse the condition of the artery. Okay? The worse the condition of the artery, the worse the condition of the endothelial lining of the artery, the worse the condition of blood flow, the worse the condition of oxygen-rich blood to organs and tissues and cells in our body, the worse the condition of our health. And that's why, my friends, understanding this cholesterol panel, understanding what's at risk here, understanding the relationship to this cholesterol panel to your whole health from head to toe is so important. This is why functional medicine and lifestyle medicine are so crucial to health optimization and moving beyond the line of fine, moving beyond just being fine, moving beyond these borderline conditions, borderline hypertension, borderline diabetes, borderline cholesterol, disease. It is so important to move as far away from that borderline as you possibly can by using the tools of lifestyle medicine. I can't emphasize it enough, because when you are at the border, that is the time. Well, I'd make the argument even before that, but when you get to the border, that is really the time that you want to implement serious diet and lifestyle changes. That is the time that you want to really get serious about the role of stress in your life. That is the time when you want to understand what else is there besides the lipid panel. What other biomarkers should we be checking to investigate hidden sources of oxidative stress, hidden inflammation beyond the lipid panel? And that's what we're going to be talking about in part 2 of this episode. So I want you to stay tuned to part 2. And I also want you to go back and listen to the season 1, and during season 1 when I spoke about antioxidants, because that's going to tie this all in together as well. So that's going to bring to a close this part 1 of Beyond the Lipid Panel, Building a Stronger Heart and a Sharper Brain. I want you to join me in part 2, where we're going to talk about all things cholesterol, why you need it, but not too much of it. We're going to unpack that cholesterol panel itself, number by number, so that you understand exactly what every number means and why every number is so important. We're going to talk about the other biomarkers that you want to tune into, those biomarkers beyond the cholesterol panel that you want to tune into and discuss with your health coach and your healthcare provider, the biomarkers that will reveal oxidative stress, poor methylation, inflammation. We're going to be talking about massive action that you can take this month, National Nutrition Month, and the lifestyle modifications that will make a major difference for your heart, your brain, and just whole body health. If you're not a member of the Fit and Functional for Life community, I want you to check us out. Hop on over to the show notes. Get signed up for our open house event coming up in April. In fact, just go to www.fitandfunctional.com getfitandfunctionalforlife.com. We are on a mission in this community, and we are not playing. We are busting the burnout, putting out the fire of stress-related disease. We're taking massive action, and we're leveraging the power of community to make simple, sustainable lifestyle changes to change the trajectory of our health and our lives. We are on a mission to live longer and live better with lifestyle medicine, and we want you to join us. If you're ready to take that journey of 1,000 miles that begins with the single step, if you are ready to make that single step, come on over and join us. Take that next step. Enjoy the first 2 weeks in our community absolutely free. We are that confident. We are just that confident that you are going to love it. Take that step. Have a peek inside of our community at getfitandfunctionalforlife.com. Sign up for our Design the Life You Deserve virtual vision board party. Once you're a member, that is free. Come on and join us April 30th, 2022 at 7 p.m. We're going to be talking about something that's really important, and that is believing that you can when you think that you can't, how you overcome doubt and fear in your life when you're trying to make meaningful lifestyle changes, set healthy boundaries, all kinds of, bigger visions that you have for your health. We want you to be part of this community, and we're opening the doors to membership in spring, in March, National Nutrition Month. So hop on over and come on and see what's inside. So I'll see you in part 2 of Beyond the Lipid Panel, how to build a stronger heart and sharper brain. And until then, be well and be good to yourself, and never, ever, ever, ever be afraid to be amazing. Take good care. Thank you for tuning in to Healthy House Calls with Angel. I hope today's episode leaves you feeling inspired, motivated, and empowered to live your best life by applying the practical tools of holistic lifestyle medicine to eat, sleep, move, and live better. Please don't forget to subscribe wherever you receive this podcast. Check in for show notes and share this podcast with friends. If you'd like even more tips in your inbox, subscribe to my newsletter, Healthy House Calls with Angel, by using the link in the show description. Until next time, be well and be good to yourself.